Well, hey fans, welcome to Steamtown, USA. And today we're going to be looking at Union Pacific 4000 class locomotive 4012, which was recently put back on display after a cosmetic restoration. To be honest, this locomotive looks pretty good. They did a really good job with it. It's the correct shade of paint, all good decals, all the rods that were missing back when it was on display originally have been replaced. It looks pretty complete. There's only a few parts on this locomotive that I noticed were missing, but from an untrained eye, this looks really good. So we'll do a quick walk around. I'll point out some main features. We'll talk a little bit about this locomotive. You might remember that I did a video in Denver with the 4005, but with that locomotive being indoors, you weren't really able to get onto the ground level of the fireman's side because it was next to the platform. So this locomotive, you can actually do a true 360-degree walk around. So that's what we'll be doing today. So we'll start underneath the cab here. You got your UP label here, your road number, and then your locomotive designation information. So you got 4012, it's a 4884 first series, 68-inch drivers, 2 cylinders, 23 3/4 inch bore, 32-inch stroke, 540,000 pounds adhesion weight on the drivers, and it's equipped with a standard modified type B stoker. Coming down here, you have the 8 ET air brakes. This is the actual valve setups underneath the cab, controlled by the handles in the cab. Coming down here a little further, you have your live steam injector, your Nathan live steam injector. Your overflow here. Then here you have your blow down, your boiler blow down exhaust that comes out from the top of the turret where the sludge remover is. Inside underneath the deck plate you have your stoker, plus the drawbar connections here to the tender. These red handles here, these are to shake or empty out the ash pan grates, ash pan that are under the grates. Your ash pans here, which obviously on the 4014 were removed since it was converted to oil. You got your trailing truck, your firebox truck, your brake cylinder, SKF roller bearings, your drivers, 68 inches, your rods, high tensile strength, manganese vanadium alloy rods, rear set of lubricators, Alco reverse gear, rear cylinders, your air tanks up here for the air brake system, forward set of drivers, forward lubricator, chain driven. As you recall, these are a modification. They were originally rod actuated, but the design on the front was proved to be fragile, so they replaced it with a chain driven system. This one has the guard on it. There's 4014, they never replaced the guard. I don't know if they're planning on doing that, but it makes sense to leave the guard off since you can better monitor the integrity of the chain that way. Steam delivery pipes, your American multiple throttle, your builder's plate. I believe there is a slight error on the builder's plate on this locomotive. It should read October, not November. But otherwise, the serial number is correct. Cross compound air pumps. I believe You got two of these on this locomotive, if I'm not mistaken. We can't climb on, so we can't see what's up here so much per se, but you got your intercoolers, your air compressor intercoolers behind this pilot shield here. As built, they were mounted on the handrails on the pilot deck. They were prone to breakage in that location, so they were moved in the second series to behind the pilot shield here, and also as a retrofit to the first series. You got your retractable coupler. This is not the original design. The original design was a single piece that swung out. This was retrofitted to, I believe it's a dual piece here, that I believe you open this up and you swing the coupler back in and then you close it up. There's another panel that comes out. Or you know what? I think if you look in here, yes, if you swing the coupler around, you open this door here, you swing the coupler in, and then on the back side of the coupler is the matching piece that makes the pilot more streamlined. You got your second set of air compressors on this side. Looking up here, there's your bell, and then here is your Alesco exhaust steam injector. You can see that union link coming out right there. That is the water index control that controls the capacity of the injector. Coming down here on this side, you have the fireman's side equipment here, the drive rods, the lubricators. This pipe here that comes from the exhaust injector, that is your overflow for the exhaust injector. More air tanks. Rear set of drivers, rear lubricators, fireman side, ash pan. When this locomotives we brought to the surfacing pit, they would take these pins out and these ash pans would fold down like this, and you would go in and you would, with your pressurized steam or water or whatever, and you would spray out all the ash that had fallen through the grates. Brake cylinder. You got your Pile National Company cold water pump for the exhaust steam injector. You can step back here for a second. Up there's your dynamo that powers, that generates 32-volt electricity for the lights on the locomotive. There is your starting valve for the exhaust steam injector. That is one of the parts that is missing. The reach rod that goes into the cab is missing, so that's not there. Driving wheel, brakes, all cast iron, shoes, $20,000 for a full set. That's why they run the 4014 with the diesel. So you don't want to be replacing all these brake shoes every time you bring the locomotive out. It's better to just use the dynamic brakes, conserve that $20,000 for other things that are more important. Here's your tender. 28 tons of coal, up to 32 tons with the coal boards up there, and then 24,000 gallons of water in this one. Your four-wheel truck here, all axles on the tender are equipped with Timken roller bearings, brake cylinder, and then you got the pedestal portion back here with the 5 axles that gave the nickname to this tender, centipede tender. Walk around the back real quick. Got your 24,000 gallons engraved in the rear, UP4012, and the tender backup light. Rear coupler. Now, it's amazing you think that this coupler, along with the tender drawbars, able to transmit up to 135,000 pounds of tractive force to a train that stretched up to a mile long, maybe sometimes even more, behind this coupler. The big boys were rated on 1.1% ruling grade, 4,450 tons. That comes out to about 70 fully loaded cars, about 3/4 of a mile long back in the day. Or if you're on Sherman Hill on track 3, where the ruling grade is only 0.82, your tonnage rating climbs all the way up. Depending on whether, if you were a drag freight, tonnage rating climbs all the way up to 5,800 tons, where your train is now. Depending on whether or not you're loaded or empty, you could easily be over a mile long. A lot of these sidings were not really much longer than a mile, so that was really your limiting factor for train length. But remember that train length is not as important as train weight, as long as you're not dealing with too many cars back in the day. Train weight was really what governed how the locomotive was going to perform over any given route. Here's your tender plate here, 25C114. I got to look at my records to see whether or not this tender is actually original to this locomotive. So back in the day, they would swap tenders on these locomotives pretty regularly. So this may or may not be the original tender that this locomotive was delivered with. It is, I believe it is an original tender from the first series of locomotives, because it is a 24,000 gallon tender, whereas the second series of locomotives, 4020 to 4024, were delivered with the tender that had increased water capacity, 25,000 gallons. But yeah, so the cab is not open at this time due to COVID and things like that. But hopefully once this all passes, we're able to go up there and take a look inside. I believe they said that there's a few gauges in there that are still missing, but they did do a cosmetic restoration inside the cab as well. So it does look pretty good from the photos I've seen online. If you haven't been out here to see this and you're able to, I really recommend it. It's a real piece of history, this thing. The locomotive itself is 85 feet long. With the tender, it's 133 feet and some change. So when they moved this out here from the roundhouse area, they had to split the tender from the locomotive because the turntable is only 90 feet. Just long enough for the locomotive itself to fit on it. The stack, I believe the stack is capped, which is actually smart, because you don't want, if it's going to be displayed outdoors, you don't want water to get into the smoke box if it doesn't need to be. You can see, if we zoom in here, we can still see that the stack hood is present, unlike on the 4014 where they removed the stack hood on the 4014. There are solar panels somewhere on the roof or other of this locomotive that powers the lights. It's on a timer. I forget exactly what I think it's from like 9 to 3 or something like that. The lights are on. Yeah. So yeah, definitely, if you get a chance to come out and see this, come out and see this. The whistle is missing, but that's probably a smart thing. It's a very highly sought after item, very valuable. So it's probably, if they have the whistle, it's probably stored somewhere in the shop where it should be. All Alright, so thanks for watching. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to comment. I'll answer the best I can. Personally, I can't wait for the smoke box version of this locomotive to come out on Train Simulator. It's gonna be a great thing to run. So definitely stay tuned on that. I'm gonna have a whole series of videos on that locomotive when that comes out. So until next time, see ya.